Africa is becoming more populous and richer. It has experienced unprecedented and uninterrupted economic growth for the past 3 decades. But if African countries are to become economically successful, their governments will have to implement adequate policies which contribute to the expansion of the private sector, job creation, and an increase in the productivity levels. Corruption must be dealt with in Africa. Unemployment, mainly among the youth, is another challenge facing African leaders. These and many more issues that hinders our growth will be discussed on the banner and provide the why, how, and what to accelerate the continent's dream of economic freedom. Watch on the banner every Saturday. It's going to be hot, heated, but focused. Africa's future success will depend on stability, sound policies, and solid institutions. Don't miss this. Welcome to another edition of On the Banner. My name is Shalom Gono, and let's just acknowledge those who have helped us reach your homes wherever you may find yourself, whether via the internet, on any digibox in any part of the world, in satellite, wherever you find us. GN Bank, Gold Coast Fund Management, Coconut Grove Hotel, First Digital, we owe them a lot of gratitude and appreciation, perhaps same synonym, for making it able to appear wherever you are. Just last week, I did mention on my program that I was going to bring a very important fellow to your homes via your TV sets, vis-a-vis discussions that ensued in previous discussions with Professor Frimpong Boateng and a psychologist from the University of Ghana. A lot has been said about the educational system, and if we're able to correct it, that will automatically be the panacea for our economic development. We've always been blaming human resource, Ghana going industrial, etc., and we seem not to find our way around. Luckily for us, in recent times, there's been a reportage from the Ministry of Education, that is Government of Ghana for that matter, with the intention of converting all polytechnics into technical university. I don't know how this will be embraced. There's been a lot of issues with that, whether it is not one of the laboratory preparations, which sometimes use the human resource base of Ghana as a kind of guinea pig, or this is something that has come to stay. With me for this afternoon's discussion is somebody that I know most people will be very delighted to see and hear from. He is a former rector of the whole Polytechnic. He is a former Secretary General, Commonwealth Association of Polytechnics in Africa, and former chief inspector of schools. I'm sure with that one, a lot of people will sit up in their seats at home and want in haste to know what is going to become of this program. Like I always do, it's quite a very dispassionate and objective analysis of the issues, and we'll try to make it as simple and conversational as it can be, so you can be part of it. So the WhatsApp number appear on your screens, and you can always send messages via that, and we'll address them if the situation or the circumstances allow that. Well, let's welcome here the Chairman, Technical Committee on the Conversion of Polytechnics to Technical Universities. I don't know if I got that one right, but he's here, so he'll definitely correct it. Dr. Apeti, pleased to meet you once again.
I'm happy to be
here. It's
here.
been years.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm sure the last time was about 8-9 years ago.
I think so.
Yes,
yeah.
Somewhere on a sister station when you were leaving for that position to become the former Secretary General, Commonwealth Association of Polytechnics. Mm-hmm. And we had a very comprehensive discussion of the issues. In fact, the feedback I had, I don't know if I ever mentioned it to you, but it was overwhelming. Very, very overwhelming. And a lot of people from all walks of life, intellectuals from the universities and whatever, thought it was a brilliant piece, especially discussing your background and all that. It was quite inspirational, and it gave some hope. But I don't know whether along the years, the hopes have been diffused. Yeah, so we're yet to find out. And that is why there's been a lot of skepticism around the new area that we want to venture into, that is converting the polytechnics into technical universities. Just before coming here, somebody met me and asked me, who is next on the bill? I said, Dr. He said, yes, ask him. Why are they changing the polytechnics? Why do they want to convert them to universities? Yeah. What have the polytechnics achieved? And this is on everybody's mind.
Yeah, perfectly right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doc, before then, just to inspire the youth and people out there, I don't know if I'm wrong, but that is my opinion by just critical observation. When we talk about technical education, it has been seriously stigmatized by my opinion. And on this program, the program is of course on the banner, I normally see things as it happens or as it occurs. In many instances, in trying to address our problems with poor results, perceived poor results, if that is the word that to make it sound a little bit good in the ears of many, it's just like those who find themselves, or the weak grades at the basic level, at the JHS, are being suggested to find a place in the technical schools, etc. And these statements have come out of even critical people and leadership. And I don't know if it was intentional or they had not been scientific in approach to some of these communications. But I found it a little bit disparaging when it comes to technical education, where people with weak grades are said that, or with this area, they can also find themselves in apprenticeship and vocation and technical, as if it is an area that is condemned. And therefore, what do we expect from it? I'll briefly tell us about yourself. Have you had any, perhaps, preparatory experience in technical education as part of your life?
Yeah, I never went to secondary school. I attended a technical institute, and then
which institute precisely?
kom3 Technical Institute.
kom3.
Yep.
I see.
I was a student.
They were rivals because I was at Bishop Herman myself.
Oh, there you are.
So
and,
they used to bully us a lot.
And you didn't really think highly of us because we were in a technical school.
We always disrespected, and we had to pay a price because they were stronger and they would always bully their way through and teach us a lesson when we met.
Because I had always wanted to be somebody who would do something with my hands, because my father was a blacksmith.
Okay.
So that gave me the inspiration that why don't you really do technical education rather than secondary education? Although I had passed the common entrance examination to go to a secondary school, I felt that no, let me go to a technical institute.
So it was deliberate, not by mistake?
No, not by choice. Of course, I went all the way to Middle Form 4. I had distinction, and I could have gone anywhere else. But I decided that no, let me go into a technical institute and see what we can do to be able to use not only our brains, but also our hands. So I went to kom3 Technical Institute. I did the 4-year course in 3 years because I was promoted. And then after that, I came to Accra Polytechnic. I did what was at that time known as the Ordinary Technician Diploma.
In which area?
In mechanical engineering.
Okay.
And then from there I went to the University of Science and Technology, as it was called at that time, KNUST now. And I did a diploma in mechanical engineering. Diploma in mechanical engineering, I got distinction. And then, of course, I was asked to do the degree in mechanical engineering. So I passed out with a degree in mechanical engineering. I became a teaching assistant. I had worked also during the holidays at Ashanti Goldfields because I got a bursary from the mining company. So every long week I went there to work at the mines. I even went down underground to do work there. So I have some experience of what technical training is all about.
But the issue, as you mentioned, you eventually ended in the university. And I'm sure many people out there, the audience, will ask this question. If you intended going to the university, why the long route? Why didn't you just go straight to maybe the secondary school, do science or something, and just get yourself going, than to go through all these? I mean, it would have been a waste of time in the minds of many.
Yeah, I never really for one moment believed that it was a waste of time. Because of the fact that it's a choice. You know, everybody has to make a choice in life. What do you want to become? What do you want to do? And I thought that perhaps the best thing that should happen to me, given my desire to be a practically minded fellow, the best thing was to go to a technical institute and learn the basics of skills. Because it's extremely important. You must have that fundamental knowledge of using your hands, and that gives you an edge.
Was it not traditional? Because because I want us to be scientific. A lot of bit history tells me that parts of the Volta region had a colonization by the Germans.
That's correct.
And therefore, they imbibed that idea of artisanal or apprenticeship into people from the Volta region. So you have a lot of Evers in the carpentry, the masonry, whatever.
Yeah,
so is it not because of that traditional influence?
It could be that. But of course, I took inspiration from my dad, who was a blacksmith and a driver, making all sorts of things, farm implements and so on. So at a very early age, I knew how to handle some of these things in the blacksmithing shop. So that gave me, if you like, the push to really go this route. You see, one very important thing that perhaps we need to begin to realize is that if we do not discard this idea of having only the less brilliant people to go into technical education, then we can never really develop a skilled workforce.
My own father disrespects me for going to a polytechnic.
And now it's going to change.
Well, that's why I've become a crusader.
Yeah.
And I've never regretted, because I went into the polytechnic environment based on counseling and all that. At that time, hotel management was, you could only do hotel management in the whole polytechnics. It was not that anywhere else in the universities or wherever. But sometimes he passes disparity. But I'm proud of what I did anyway. It hasn't belittle meaning anyway.
So really, we have this public perception of technical education, which has been very poor throughout the years. Even now, that perception is still there, and we needed to do something about it. You see, we need to get our educational system to begin to respect those who also use their hands in addition to their brains. It's extremely important. And I think one of the reasons for what we want to do at the moment in trying to convert the polytechnics to technical universities is to give young, brilliant people an opportunity to rise to the highest level possible. You know, we need to really let people know that you can go through the vocational system, apprenticeship system, technical schools, and still end up at the highest level possible.
That is quite
at the moment, this is not true.
Yes.
Because there is always, if you like, impediments in the way of people who go through the vocational route. And that must stop. That must stop, because if you are able to get a skilled workforce, then we'll begin to have, if you like, very enlightened, technologically savvy people who can perform in the modern world. And it is important that we do this so that we can create more jobs through the expansion and growth of enterprises. See, we want to see how we can reposition technical education to support economic growth, economic transformation. How do we do this? We need to get a skilled workforce, highly skilled workforce. Let me tell you something. The last Ghana Living Standards Survey by the Statistical Service 2010 says that the Ghanaian workforce is not very competitive. Why? Because only about 5% of the workforce has some level of tertiary education. If you take the over 11 million people who work in this country, just about 5% have tertiary level education, compared with other countries where about 50% of the workforce have tertiary level education. So our workforce is not competitive. And if you're not competitive, it means that the products and services that you produce will not be competitive on the international market.
I wouldn't be surprised. That is why a lot of buildings are collapsing lately.
So it's important that we reposition technical education to be able to get the right caliber of skilled people to work in a modern industrial environment. For example, if you take a plumber, plumber who goes around to fix leaking pipes. He has very important skills. But the same plumber is not equipped to work in a high-rise building where you have a whole system of plumbing, network, pipes, and so on. It's not possible. We need to train people at a higher level to do that. If you look at air conditioning systems, for example, it is a different ball game. If you are looking at a central air conditioning system, different ball game. You need the type of people who have the high level skills to do that. So what we are trying to say is this: one, how do we make the polytechnics, if you like, the sort of institution that will command respect and therefore allow young people from technical institutes as well as senior high schools to choose technical education as a first choice, not as a second choice. The second thing is that how do we ensure that we have parity of esteem with the traditional universities? Because that is what makes people go away from the polytechnics or sometimes use the polytechnics as a second choice. That must stop. Thirdly, by converting the polytechnics to technical universities, you will be raising the public image of technical and vocational education. Because now everybody can say that even if I go to a technical school, if I start as an apprentice, I can always end up at the university, but still in that technical area. And then, of course, one of the major reasons for this conversion is the fact that we need to diversify the tertiary education landscape in this country.
A lot has been said about it.
We need to do that. You see, the traditional university is not versatile enough to produce all kinds of human resources that the country needs. They have their role to play, but you need to get other institutions that can also play their part in growing the economy. How do you get universities to work closely with small and medium enterprises, where local garages, workshops, mechanics workshop, or even Apostle Sappho's, if you like, workshop? You need to get a different kind of university. And that is what we are trying to, if you like, engineer in this country, so that we will have choices for young people. Young people must have choices. You can decide to go to a traditional university. You can decide to go to a technical university, if that is your vocation.
So I can deduce from what he said that, first of all, primarily, it is one that has got to do with the psyche and then perhaps the attitude by those in there and those to even encourage would-be people in that direction.
Exactly.
So the first issue is more of a psychological
it's
thing.
a perception we want to
give
change.
it some kind of image boost.
Exactly.
And then secondly, to look at the quality element of the polytechnic.
Exactly.
I think it makes a lot of sense to me now.
Because before you can really get people to accept technical and vocational education, then you must ensure that this type of education does not lead to a dead end.
Okay.
You know, you must not just, because you want to be a carpenter, it means that you must always remain a wayside carpenter fixing coffins. You must be able to, exactly,
progress.
Exactly. For example, these days you see furniture from China. It's all knocked down components. You come and assemble them.
Compressed sawdust, I should say.
Exactly. Yes. And you come and assemble them. You know, so this type of production demands another type of skilled worker.
Doc, why has it taken us so long with all the intellectuals? Is it because as a country, like alluding to what Professor Frimpong said, we have no vision, no goal for this country, and therefore, excuse me, those who had opportunities didn't know where we were going. Why all this waste of time?
It's also,
so many years after independence,
I think
our partners who started with us are far, far away, and they are even taking care of us now.
I think it's historical in the sense that, you know, the colonial masters were more interested in, if you like, getting administrative workers to push files in the civil service and so on. But you are right. The Germans have a different attitude, a different philosophy, different orientation to education. That is why today, for example, they have one of the best technical and vocational education system in the world. And that is why we have been talking to them to see how they can collaborate, or we can collaborate with them to ensure that our technical universities do not deviate from ensuring that technical education remains technical education, and that we are in constant dialogue with the productive sectors of the economy. What we're trying to do again is this. The technical universities, the proposed technical universities must be, if you like, the companions of industry.
Sure.
In other words, there must be this symbiotic relationship between the technical universities and industry. And by industry, I mean also businesses. It's not just the huge industries you have, but small enterprises that need technology solutions in order to expand, to grow. You can only employ, as a company, you can only employ people if you grow and expand. If you expand, then you need more hands, skilled workers to help you expand, grow the economy, create wealth for everybody, reduce poverty. So, skilled workforce is the number one requirement for any country to develop. Politicians have been talking about transforming the economy. You don't transform economy just by words. You need to get people who are skilled, highly skilled.
Or raw materials.
Exactly. Transforming the raw materials. Our cocoa, our gold, our jewelry. We need to get people who have the ability to use not only their brains, but also their hands. So it's important that we look at this conversion process in a broader light, broader perspective. It's not just a change of name. And that is what my committee has been trying to do. The committee that government set up to look into this developed a roadmap. And that roadmap has some stringent criteria that the polytechnics will have to satisfy before they are transformed into technical universities. Let me say right from the start that it's not going to be a wholesale conversion.
Okay.
We are not going to see all the 10 polytechnics converted to technical universities from day 1 to day 2. No. There are certain steps that they will have to go through. It's also important to let everybody understand that the technical universities are supposed to deepen the practical orientation of polytechnic education. It's not supposed to deviate from polytechnic education. Deepen it. Now, very often you see a lot of HND graduates from the polytechnics doing what they call top-up programs in traditional universities, completely, if you like, diluting the practical orientation of the HND programs. The technical universities will now be in a position to ensure that we don't deviate from the practical orientation of the HND programs. So the technical universities will continue to offer certificate programs, diploma programs, the HND programs, and so on. It is not that we are going to have a system of degrees and master's degrees and so on, and then ignore the basic skills. No. The idea is that let us give hope to those who have the basic skills. Let us give hope to those who have the aptitude to go further up the skills ladder, if you like. It's important also to understand that the technical universities will now be working closely with employers and companies for upskilling of their workers. A worker can decide to go into a technical university, follow a short program of upskilling in order to become more adapted to new technologies at the workplace. This is not possible in a traditional university. Okay. The traditional university will be talking about entry requirements. Do you have 24 aggregate, 24, and so on? But the technical universities will be able to design programs and curricula that will ensure that even those who don't have the normal entry requirements, but have the skills they have to improve upon, can do so. So we are looking at a whole, if you like, a whole new system of technical education.
The mention of a new system is what scares me most here, because I believe and I know you work seriously before leaving office for the introduction of the BTech program.
Yep.
And personally, that is something I have to share. I was following closely, calling you that start the program because I didn't want to deviate my course. So I was among the first batch to be part of the BTech. Now, I'm sure a lot of my audience there will ask, Why don't you fine-tune, because already the polytechnics are even offering degree programs. Bachelor of Technology, that is what I am. So why don't you fine-tune it? And all of a sudden, we want to jump onto something else. It sounds more political than really something that will be sustainable, because you have to start from somewhere. I don't believe that the BTech program or the Polytechnic as it is now, the real intention and purpose has even been fully achieved for us to even migrate on to another. What do you have to say to that?
What we are saying is this: we are not throwing out the current programs the polytechnics are running.
Is it being fine-tuned?
That is one of the key requirements of the new technical universities. We need to ensure that if you are a BTech degree student, for example, then it means that you have a relationship with a relevant industry.
Okay.
In other words, we don't want to have a situation where Bachelor of Technology degree students just go in there, take a degree, and become unemployed.
Yeah.
That must stop. So it is, when I talk about a new system of producing a skilled workforce, I'm not saying, for example, that throw out the BTech programs and do something else. No. What I'm saying is that let us see how the programs that are currently being run
Can be enriched.
Can be repositioned to support local industries, can be repositioned to ensure that graduates find jobs either in
They'll be
a
very relevant to industry.
Relevant, because you see, one of the requirements that we have developed for the conversion process is that the polytechnics must have MOUs signed with relevant industries. For example, if you are running a Bachelor of Technology program in automotive engineering, automobile engineering, we expect that before you can run that program, there must be a strong collaboration, evidence of collaboration with a major automobile company, which will mean, therefore, that, one, you will have people from industry, from this company, teaching.
Okay.
From time to time in the classroom. We want to bring the workplace experience to the classroom.
A practical field.
And then also send the classroom to the workplace.
Is it even possible that some of your workshop could be adopted by some industries?
Exactly.
Maybe Japan Motors or whatever, taking over the whole Polytechnic garage. You have a huge garage.
Exactly.
Bigger than some of what they have as even business people.
Exactly. And this is happening now.
So it can be a part in the regions where the polytechnics are found.
Exactly. So the question is, how do we get industry and academia to collaborate?
Okay.
See, that is one of the key issues. And what we are saying is that if you want to become a technical university, then of course we want to see that relationship. You've established a relationship with relevant industries. Otherwise, you will not run that program. That program will have to be accredited based on, one, the quality of your teachers, the quality of your teaching and learning facilities, and then the collaboration and linkages that you have with industry.
Is it possible having a national policy where prospective industry investors would have to align themselves to a technical institute before being, because if you leave as an autonomous body or whatever, the polytechnics, to align themselves to industry, some industries, because of the way we do our things in the public service, will find it a little bit repugnant to associate because of the brand. So what can we do? I think it's going to be a difficult one.
Well, that is also another reason we want to talk about the conversion of the polytechnics to technical universities. Industry, if you like, employers, and even those who are in the civil service, they value the name university more than the polytechnic. So if you are a technical university and you walk into a big company and you want to establish a relationship with that company, definitely you will have a much more respect than if you go there as a technical institute or the polytechnic. So what we are trying to do is this: how do we ensure that the polytechnics can be equal partners when it comes to establishing this relationship? And one of the things to do really is that let us show, as polytechnics or technical universities, let us show that we are relevant. If you show that you are relevant to industry, you will get the support, because this is happening in a lot of countries.
And how can we show that, exhibit that relevance?
Well, you start first of all by making sure that your products are really well trained, and that will begin by ensuring that your teachers are well trained.
Yeah, I was coming
because
to that.
yes, because you see, in the mode of things, how we are looking at what we want to do, it's important that the teachers in the polytechnics have both academic and practical exposure. In other words, you cannot just be a lecturer in a polytechnic without having had some practical exposure.
That has got to do with the incentives or the attraction in the academic area. For somebody to leave a place like any of the multinational companies like Accra Brewery, he's an engineer, and he thinks that living there, when he comes into the classroom for one reason or the other, whether by contract after retirement or whatever, he's going to get something commensurate to what he's doing. Because seriously, the private sector takes better care of you. So how do you do that? That is going to be quite a difficult one.
That's going to be a challenge, but it is not a challenge that cannot be really overcome. Okay. First of all, we can start with having adjunct lecturers from industry.
All right.
We don't take you away wholly from your workplace into the classroom. You will remain in your company, but at the same time, you can come and do teaching in the technical university. But then there are workers in industry reaching the retirement age who want to have a change.
Yeah, that's what I think. We
have
a lot of retired people who can be useful, because the mainstream universities do that. The retired staff continue with some contracts, so we can bring them from industry. Yes.
And then
make it attractive.
To the classroom, make it attractive. Ensure that the promotion criteria for such people is different.
Okay.
From the traditional universities.
Excellent.
You know, you don't have to talk about having X number of publications before you can become a competent lecturer in a technical university. You want to see what have you done before.
Your track record. The recommendation from industry.
Exactly.
Positions you held.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
your reports from the industry can just...
These are very important things that we want to really introduce into the technical universities. But eventually, we are looking at the possibility of ensuring that lecturers now in the polytechnics will be able to acquire practical experience during the long vacations. You know, we're going to see how we can support them to do that, so that every long vac, not only students, but also staff can go into industry to acquire practical experience. Because without that, if you don't have the skills, you cannot impart the skills to your students. So it's a basic requirement we are insisting on. That is why I'm saying that it is not all the 10 polytechnics that will immediately become technical universities. We're going to pilot this, if you like, re-engineered system of ensuring that we train highly skilled people for the world of work without ignoring the technical elements, the vocational elements of the current system of training.
I'm wondering the kind of requirements that would be a polytechnic university would have to have, because I'm sure it is into the sciences, mathematics, and that is where we have our problems in this country. Now, many a time, like we've done things, and I believe all Ghanaians are aware, we start doing things before we look back and say we have not done the basics right. How are we, or what has been done to ensure that perhaps the teaching of science and maths has been made more exciting, appealing to the bulk of our students? The grades we are having at the basic level, it's beautiful. Not to lower the standards and say this is what we have, so let's make do with it, because there's room to be filled, like we have always done in our governance as a country. What has been done to prepare?
Yeah, this is one of the major challenges of the education system right now. You know, my work as the Chief Inspector of Schools has really revealed to me the difficulties we have in getting science students to go into the higher levels of the education system. It's because, one, the teaching of mathematics and science, especially maths, has been more or less
Abstract.
abstract and then portrayed as difficult.
Yeah.
You know, more or less getting people away from mathematics. But this is changing now. Now we have several initiatives in the system. There is the maths clinics that are being held now. There are regular sessions for science and maths teachers. They go through some, if you like, in-service training programs to ensure that the teaching of science and maths can improve. But we also have to be aware of the fact that we need to get the laboratories also right at the lower levels. We don't have many of those now. But I know that the current initiative to improve secondary education in the country includes a lot of emphasis on science, laboratories, and so on. So with time, we're going to see a change. But then, don't forget that we have a lot of talents in technical schools now. But because of the strict requirements for university admission, most of these people are not able to enter. So we are looking at the technical university to be able to, if you like, if necessary, run bridging programs for such students from technical schools and vocational schools who already have a lot of skills, so that they can be able to enter, if you like, the technical universities, to go through the diploma, HND, and then the degree programs as well. So we are looking at a continuum of skills. It's important to see the new technical universities as institutions dedicated to skills training from the middle level all the way to the highest level. We are not in any way trying to say that we are going to discard the sort of training that is currently available in the polytechnics. But the question is, one, how do we deepen this so that we can get people to be more conversant, more comfortable with working in modern industry? How do we ensure that we can provide technology solutions to local enterprises? How do we ensure that we give a brand new image to technical and vocational education? So these are some of the issues.
Another issue that has really come up in certain circles of discussion have asked the question, well, we all embrace and think that technical education is a beautiful thing. But by the way, even if we have that population, where are the industries to even employ or absorb them? Which should come first? Is it the industries? Very beautiful environment, let's enable environment for an industrial takeoff, investments in certain areas to be existing prior before the takeoff of some of these programs implementation. Which one should come first? Is it the training or the industries available? Because here we are going to have some kind of linkages. And many churches are taking over the industries now. Industries are collapsing for one thing or the other because of our inability to be visionaries and look ahead of time. For example, the power problems and all that, which you cannot even blame anybody in particular, but collectively as a nation. How do we even get these industries to pair up, assuming that the resources are available for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 polytechnics, the various courses with the students intake, maybe expansion in there. How do we even tailor them to the industries where relatively industries are collapsing? But before we come to that, I'll just go for a short break so my audience out there can also sip some water. I'll be right back.
This outlook is embodied in the theme for the 2015 budget statement and economic policy. Transformational agenda, securing the bright medium-term prospects for the economy.
want our government to learn from this bad experience and the bad name that they've been given to this nation and to all of us. That you go and make promises, you must know what you're promising to do. And when you come, you must deliver on the promise.
In this budget, the minister has created an infrastructure fund and he's moving to create an EXIM bank that will allow these institutions to be strengthened, to make sure we all have a fund in there where they can go and clean them up using the gas opportunity.
We don't expect anything new than a continuation of corrupt practices, a continuation of the mess at JIDA, a continuation of the mess at SADA, a continuation of the mess at SUBA. So the corrupt practices will continue. So the budget has no solution to our problems. There's no solution to our current energy crisis. They do so will no good.
The Minister of Finance has assured us today that some 360,000 day students in the 2015 fiscal year will go to school for free because funding has been secured.
Much was not said about agriculture. In fact, it was unnecessary for the minister to come here because last year's budget estimate that we passed to date, monies are not being released. So what's the purpose for he coming here to tell us the same thing?
You can only achieve the timeline if every aspect is under your control.
If government sits up and says, let me stop doing this in the public as a public person and let me allow private sector to carry on doing this, government can probably shed at least 2/3 to maybe 3/4 of that payroll out of its context and give that away to private sector.
My name is Franklin Kujo. I think Policy Desk is an innovative program. It certainly must be a program that should be watched for important news analysis and policy analysis. I encourage everyone to watch Policy Desk at 8 p.m. every Tuesday.
Well, this is Kofi Kukubo, a governance and policy analyst. Keep watching Policy Desk, creative and innovative TV station discussing topical national issues every Tuesday.
Africa is becoming more populous and richer. It has experienced unprecedented and uninterrupted economic growth for the past 3 decades. But if African countries are to become economically successful, their governments will have to implement adequate policies which contribute to the expansion of the private sector, job creation, and an increase in the productivity levels. Corruption must be dealt with in Africa. Unemployment, mainly among the youth, is another challenge facing African leaders. These and many more issues that hinders our growth will be discussed on the banner and provide the why, how, and what to accelerate the continent's dream of economic freedom. Watch on the banner every Saturday. It's going to be hot, heated, but focused. Africa's future success will depend on stability, sound policies, and solid institutions. Don't miss this. You're welcome back. Just after the break, I have been in a discussion with, I've been so much enthused and sometimes forget myself that I have an audience there because I've been so much involved. It's consumed my emotions and everything. I've been in a discussion with Dr. Apeti. Dr. Apeti is the former rector of Hope Polytechnic, former Secretary General, Commonwealth Association of Polytechnic in Africa, former Chief Inspector of Schools. I was talking about a lot he's done for this country, and he did say from the beginning that he started life of the technical school as a matter of choice, not by mistake, like most people have been tagged with. Technical education is seen or is been stigmatized. reserved for an area of people who have weak grades or who cannot put things properly together in our mainstream schools and all that. I don't know how to word it, because I become a little bit angry when I hear the kind of comments and the tags that are given to technical students. However, I must say, before I forget, I've never even seen a polytechnic sticker on any car. On any car in this country. I don't know if you've seen one. Before we start, have you ever seen a polytechnic sticker on any car?
Honest,
I've been worrying the alumni, especially our whole polytechnic. It brought a lot of, we created stickers. I remember one of the lecturers, we tried to do a lot and meanings were ready into it. But for now, I've not seen. But I know most industries in Ghana today, where I've visited, are being manned by polytechnic graduates. Not even with the BTech, but at the HND level, they are doing fantastic. I've not seen a sticker. They go for a top up from another university, and you see UCC, KNUST, and whatever. You never see. And I even keep on saying that, excuse me, with my language. Even the mushroom secondary schools, they have stickers on car. People are proud of them. And polytechnics, you rarely see a polytechnic sticker on even a car to show some kind of sense of pride that this is where I come from. Yet people are doing very well. I mean, the business sector, the banks, I mean, you mentioned them.
Yeah, in fact, this is the image problem that I've been talking about. It's really an image problem, a sort of complex, if you like, and this must change. You see, why, for example, should an HND graduate decide to go for a top-up at the university? It's simply because the world of work respects degrees more than the HND qualification. Although the HND graduate may be able to perform much better than a university graduate in a particular field. So now, if we succeed with this conversion process, and somebody even takes an HND from a technical university, a converted polytechnic as a technical university, you'll be sure to have stickers for technical universities. Oh no,
that's interesting.
I'm sure about that. So, because really, it's the perception.
Yes.
But that has to change. How do we change it? Now, you talked just before.
Yes, we went for a break.
Yeah, you talked about the fact that we don't have enough industries.
Industries to even absorb. I mean, that has been an issue.
And
the industries are collapsing.
I have always said that this is a fallacy.
Okay.
Because generally, when you talk about industry, most people are looking at the big companies.
Yeah. Okay.
But that should not be the case.
All right.
We should be looking at the small enterprises, the SMEs. In fact, most of the Japanese companies began as even family businesses that grew and became the Toyotas and all that you see around. Why can't we do a similar thing in Ghana? Why can't we support small businesses to grow and expand and become the huge industries we are talking about?
Maybe we are too partisan.
Well, it's just that we are not very visionary as a country. I think that we need to really start to look at what we have been doing in the past, what our forefathers have been doing in the past. In the past, there were people who were making farm implements.
Yeah.
You didn't go to GNTC only to buy a cutlass or a hoe. These things were being made.
So we have the comparative advantage.
Yeah. But then somehow, we've lost it. And we started becoming a country of importers. We are using what people have produced. We're purchasing partners in their industries, and they are growing bigger. And we are here complaining. That must stop.
Even the shapes of the cutlass, when they come here, they have to be altered. You know, because we want them in a special shape to weed under cocoa farm or wherever. We need to remold them here.
Exactly. So why can't we get our own people to do these things? Simply because at a point, we have lost the skills that our forefathers had. We didn't build upon these skills. So what we are saying now is that let us give some recognition to those who can use their hands as well. And by doing so, we are saying it is not enough to talk about it. So we've been talking about it for a long time. It's not enough. Now things must change. So that's why I'm happy that government has decided that they want to support the conversion of the polytechnics. But we've made it quite clear, as chairman of the technical committee that developed the roadmap, we made it quite clear in our report that this must not be business as usual.
Okay.
In other words, we should not convert the polytechnics just by mere government pronouncement. That should not be the case. We must see how we can support them. And the fact that we have recommended, my committee, we have recommended that we should adopt the German model of technical and vocational education.
And what is it like?
Yeah. First of all, it starts with the teachers. If you have to teach in what they call the University of Applied Science, you must have 3 to 5 years practical experience in addition to your master's degree or your PhD. You cannot just say you have a PhD and walk into the classroom. You will not be accepted as a teacher in the University of Applied Science.
In the technical university here too.
Yeah.
That is what you want to do.
That is what we want. But we cannot.
But we are limited.
We are limited. So what we have recommended is that a program in a future technical university that is seeking accreditation must be headed by somebody who is a senior lecturer with a PhD and some industrial exposure. And then secondly, you must have 3 other full-time lecturers, master's degree holders, at least one of whom must have practical experience. So we have lowered the initial, if you like, benchmark because we are a bit handicapped. We don't have such a strong economy as they do in Germany. But we cannot totally ignore this requirement as well, because we want to be different. We want to teach people to do things, and you, the teacher, must know how to do things. That is the first. The second thing is that you must also satisfy the requirements of the National Accreditation Board to become a university. Because we are not giving them any special dispensation. If you want to be a university, there are certain things that you need to have as a university. And we are insisting that the polytechnics wishing to be converted must also satisfy these requirements. So we are going to have, if you like, technical universities that have developed from polytechnics without ignoring the initial orientation and mandate of polytechnic education and training.
In so doing, I hope we are not leaving the task to the polytechnics to ensure that they become accredited, but government is going in deep. Because you have mentioned to me before that people don't have private polytechnics but have private universities because polytechnic education is very, very, very expensive.
Very expensive. In fact, in doing an analysis of what it will cost to convert the polytechnics to technical universities, we came out with a figure of 540 million Ghana cedis a year for 3 years.
For all the polytechnics?
That is, if all of them are converted,
yes,
then government will have to pump in 540 million Ghana cedis per year for the next 3 years. Why this figure? Now,
540 million Ghana cedis a year?
A year, for 3 years.
So that is times 3?
Yeah, every year they have to do that. Now, for 3 years, in order to really stabilize the system. Why 540 million Ghana cedis? That is what I want to just briefly explain. You know, we looked at the German model. In Germany, the equivalent of what we call here technical universities, that is the Universities of Applied Science, government spends about 18,000 Ghana cedis per year on training a student in such a university. For a student, 18,000. What you call unit cost is 18,000. So we said that in Ghana, we don't have, first of all, the wherewithal, the money to get 18,000. But as a rough estimate, we suggested that government must spend at least 9,000, 50% of that, 9,000 Ghana cedis per year on a student in a technical university.
How is that translated into? Is it the practical work at the school?
It's
or
everything.
Whatever?
The unit cost includes how much you pay your lecturers, teaching, learning materials. That's unit cost. You know, you take the whole amount of money that the university will have, divide it by the number of students. Then you have the unit
I hope that the wear and tear of equipment is also included.
It's also here. Part of it is all there. The consumables,
very comprehensive.
Is all there. So we estimated that if all the 10 polytechnics were to be converted, with about a student population of 60,000, then 9,000 times 60 will give you 540 million Ghana cedis.
That was the calculation.
That was the calculation. But of course, we told government that you are not obliged to do that.
Okay.
You need to start small.
All right.
You need to pilot some of them.
Okay.
In any case, to be honest, I do not think that all the 10 polytechnics are ready today to become technical universities. I don't think
two
so.
have been cited.
Well,
for now, I hear Takrady Polytechnic and Accra Polytechnic. No, so I mean,
I don't want to go into that because
yes,
I don't want to sound biased.
Yes,
but
certainly.
But we have developed criteria.
Okay.
The government is going to set up an expert panel.
Okay.
That will look at all the polytechnics that want to become technical universities and match what they have now against the criteria and see which of them are ready. And to be honest with you, I do not think that in 2016, when you want to start, we can get more than 5 to become technical universities to start with. And that is my...
And I hope this is going to be sustainable. I mean, government after government will embrace this very important aspect of our lives because it's been long overdue. A lot of people, even those who went to the mainstream universities, have said on special and several discussions I've had, thinking very loud and wanting to promote technical vocational education, thinking that that is going to be the elixir if we have to turn things around entrepreneurially or whatever it is. I hope it becomes sustainable. Your final words.
Well, I just want to let everybody know that in trying to transform the polytechnics to technical universities, we are in good company. Good company because one, quite a number of institutions in the world are going the same path.
Okay.
Let me just give an example in Africa. In Kenya, where I lived for 4 years as Secretary General of the Commonwealth Association of Polytechnics in Africa, the Kenya Polytechnic, which is in Nairobi, was transformed into Technical University in 2012. The other polytechnic in Mombasa in Kenya was also transformed into a technical university at the same time. But there are other polytechnics that have not yet been transformed. You know, people are beginning to realize that you need a different kind of skilled persons, higher level skills, and you can do this in a technical university. But then my really final word is that if we really want to give a push to technical and vocational education and training, then we need to support the technical universities. Because everybody who decides to go into a vocational school will know that I have a logical progression route all the way to the technical university.
It has a positive psychological impact.
Extremely important.
Dr. Apeti, on this note, thank you very much. And
My
I wish
pleasure.
you well. I'll come back again.
Thank
There's
you.
a lot to talk about.
My pleasure. Yeah.
I've been with Dr. Apeti. He's been the former rector, Hull Polytechnic, former Secretary General, Commonwealth Association of Polytechnics Africa, former Chief Inspector of Schools. So we'll come and talk about those things later because it's been a very critical area. And he's currently the Chairman, Technical Committee on the Conversion of Polytechnics to Technical Universities. I hope you enjoyed every bit of this, very educational and informative. On the banner, BTA, always bringing you what you expect to develop this country. My name is Shalom Gono. Same time next week.